Is Shane Baz breaking out? Because it sure looks like it. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, April 15th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, the Rays destroyed the Red Sox. We'll play a little too high, too low, or just right, a temperature check on certain starting pitchers, and much more. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness! Unbelievable!
All right. Oh my goodness. Players of the night. Scott, you are up first.
I guess that's because I'm claiming the breadstick here. I am claiming Shane Baz, who was unbelievable against the Red Sox. The first in what should be a 2-start week for him. 11 strikeouts in 6 innings, only 2 hits allowed, 1 run, no walks. He had 17 whiffs total, 6 on the fastball, 5 on the curveball, 6 on the changeup. Notably, I didn't mention slider there. He only threw 2 sliders. That used, when he first called up, that was kind of his pitch. And part of the reason I worried about Shane Baz coming into the year and when he came back from Tommy John surgery last year is because he didn't seem to have that slider anymore. Well, maybe he agrees and he's just created a bunch of other great pitches, because this is now in 3 outings. He has 2 double-digit strikeout efforts. And then the outing where he didn't get double-digit strikeouts, that was his longest one of the year. So he's just been great. Shane Baz has been great. I know he peaked at 100 miles per hour with his fastball in this start, so he looked plenty healthy. And I would say one of my biggest regrets this year is that I didn't draft him in any league. The only league where I have Shane Baz is a dynasty league, where I've had him for a while now, obviously. And I tried like heck to trade him before the season because I was that worried about Shane Baz. So thank you, anyone out there in that league who got an offer from me and didn't accept it. Sometimes rejected deals are the best deals you can make, because I think Shane Baz is great. And I think you should just plan on stapling him to your lineup. Stapling him, like, planting him in your lineup, leaving him there, never touching him again. Yeah, looks like a breakthrough ace.
Throw Shane Baz in a flower pot and just boom, he's there in the lineup. Chris?
The only thing is, because he doesn't seem to have the slider now, is Shane Baz dependent on sitting 97? Like sitting 97, 98, 99, like he has been so far this season. His velocity is, today it was higher than it even was before his injury. He averaged 97.4 miles per hour with his 4-seamer. Like Scott said, maxed out at 99.7, round up to 100. And like, if he's just going to sit 97 and touch 100, it might not matter, because the 4-seamer can get plenty of whiffs, and the curveball is I think more than good enough. It looks like a very good pitch. And the changeup, he hasn't thrown it as much in the past, but, maybe that can be the third pitch and give him that option against lefties. But I do wonder, like, can you expect him to hold 97 miles per hour? Can you expect him to be this effective if he's sitting 95, 96? I like to think so, but we did see him sitting 95, 96 last year, and he was okay.
Yeah, no, he wasn't that good. That's part of the reason I was worried about him. But we have seen him work more at 97 in the past when he first got called up in 2021. That's exactly what he averaged on his fastball. And then, so obviously last year coming back from the elbow injury, 2022 is when he suffered the elbow injury. His velocity was down a little both of those years. Maybe it'll be... I'm guessing it'll land somewhere in between 96 and 97 for the year. But I think it'll be enough, bottom line. Unless he gets hurt again, which is always a possibility with hard-throwing pitchers, especially.
Yeah, I worry a little bit that there might be some like Jesus Luzardo here, where like when he's good, he's really, really good, but the margin for error might be really slim. Now, it's not...
When he's bad, he's horrid.
It's not a totally fair comparison, because one, we've never seen Shane Baz be terrible. Outside of, I guess, 2022, when he was clearly not healthy. He just wasn't great last year.
I feel like his control is better than Luzardo, too.
Yeah. And, Luzardo, the other issue is Luzardo has, like, the least extension on his delivery of any pitcher in baseball. and Baz is pretty average in extension, so that could help him avoid some of the downside that Luzardo has had. So I'm mostly all in on Baz. Like I think he's looked incredible. It's just, projecting forward, is this sustainable? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1.42 ERA and a .84 WHIP, but based on how he's pitched so far, just true talent level, can he wind up with like a high 2s, low 3s ERA if
absolutely,
breakout with well over a strikeout per inning? Like, yeah, that might be what's happening here for Shane Baz.
And another thing is, like, part of the reason why I don't know that it pays to not that you can't be critical of Shane Baz's performance, but like a lot of times the angle I take on a player's performance is relative to how he's valued by people at large. If a guy is acknowledged by everybody as a stud, then the only reason we have to talk about him is if we have negative things to say about him, because everybody knows he's a stud already, right? Why belabor that point? But if it's somebody who maybe everybody doesn't regard as a stud yet, and he's looking like a stud, then that's probably the point I'm going to drive home. And for Shane Baz, I think that's where he's at, because coming into the start, all three of us had him ranked between 40 and 50 at starting pitcher. So he has a lot of room to climb in the rankings. And I think he's going to move up a lot for me. Probably inside the top, might be tough to get him in the top 30, but in the top 35, let's say.
All right, Chris, let's go over to you. Your player of the night for all the wrong reasons, actually the pitcher who opposed Shane Baz.
Yeah, we might just be done with Tanner Houck. And I think it's a mistake to overreact to one extremely bad start. And this was, I think I saw it was the worst start by a Red Sox pitcher in 60 years. He gave up 11 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. Like, that's really, really bad. And I think it would be a mistake to just look at one start, even a start this bad, a start that in one league raised my season-long ERA by almost a full run. It would be a mistake to just look at that and say, drop him because of that start. But we're going on 15 starts in a row now of Tanner Houck being bad, not even mediocre. He had like a 4.30 ERA after the All-Star break last season. His strikeout rate collapsed. His walk rate climbed to 3.5 per 9. And since the All-Star break, 5.38 ERA. He has since the All-Star break last year, 15 starts, 5.38 ERA, 1.48 WHIP, 5.9 K per 9, 3.5 walks per 9. That just doesn't sound like a player who's worth rostering. And it's not like we have a long track record before that we can point to. It's really half of last season where he was a must-start pitcher. And then after that, or before that, nothing really sustainable. So I think what we saw last year was the Red Sox approach of spamming everything but four-seamers, got them off to a really fast start, and then everybody caught up. And I don't know if Tanner Houck has another gear to overcome it. So yeah, it's I think we're dropping Tanner Houck here.
Yep.
Yeah, I wondered if it was just his first full season last year and he just kind of like wore down in the second half. But the fact that he's picked it up and been this bad again to start the season, like he's 84% rostered on CBS. Yeah, kind of feels like a pretty clear drop.
Yep, totally. The only benefit of the doubt you could have given is what you said, Frank, that he just wore down. And the Red Sox tried to make that case this spring. I didn't buy it enough to rank Houck highly enough to draft him anywhere, thankfully. I would not pick him up if I saw somebody drop him in one of my leagues. And
man, that Red Sox rotation would be in trouble if not for that Garrett Crochet trade. Because I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe Brian Bayo and Cutter Crawford are about to ride to the rescue, but that rotation looks
Lucas
pretty.
Giolito's
yeah, Lucas Giolito's also, but I don't really have any faith in any of those guys.
Yeah,
Walker Buehler. We'll see how we'll see how Walker Buehler follows up his first good start of the season, because he did have some interesting things to say about that.
Well, let's talk about all the Rays that just destroyed Tanner Houck. They put up 16 runs on 16 hits. So this is like a collective, oh my goodness gracious, team of the night, I guess you could say. Just highlighting all these hitters here. Yandy Diaz, 2 for 4 with his third home run over his last 6 games. He's got 9 hits, 3 homers, 7 RBI. Not really too much to add. He's highly rostered, and just a reminder that things can turn around very quickly early on in the season here. So Yandy Diaz picking things back up. Junior Caminero.
Caminero.
2 for 5 with his 4th home run. He is batting .291 with an .867 OPS, hitting the ball very hard early in the season. Also hitting lots of ground balls. So kind of was a bit of an issue for him last year and in the minor leagues. I hope that number continues to come down. It's 54%, but even with a high ground ball rate, he's off to a pretty nice start here. So I think he can actually start to hit for even more power as the launch angle goes up. Jonathan Aranda. Scott, let's talk about your guy here. 2 for 5 with a double, 2 runs, and 2 RBI. He is batting .395 with a .460 on base percentage, 2 homers, 10 RBI, and 1158 OPS. He has started 12 out of 16 games so far. A strong side platoon, hitting the crap out of the ball. The expected stats are great. Yep. 46% rostered. Scott, should that number be higher if he's not playing against left-handed pitching?
How much did you say? 46%?
46.
I think it should be higher than that. I think I just talked up Michael Busch yesterday. I think I'd rather have Aranda. So I'll read off some of those StatCast rankings for you. So by xWOBA, he's 97th percentile. By xBA, Aranda is 96th percentile. By xSlug, he's 97th percentile. By average exit velocity, he's 98th percentile. By barrel rate, he's 94th percentile.
Went up from 96 to 96.8 miles per hour because he had 3 batted balls over 103 miles per hour today.
By barrel rate, 94th percentile. Hard hit rate, 96th percentile. Launch angle sweet spot percentage, 86th percentile. It's just it's like Urkel's report card, going and looking at Jonathan Aranda's Baseball Savant page. And this is what I was talking about with him the last 2 years or however long it's been of hyping him up, because he was putting up those kinds of exit velocity readings, especially 2 years ago. 2 years ago at AAA, Jonathan Aranda hit .339 with 25 homers in 95 games, a 1063 OPS, reached base at a 449 clip. And then last year, had some trouble with injuries, and that kind of affected his numbers for a while, but he finished strong. And he's got the job for the Rays now, at least against right-handed pitchers. Hasn't started against a lefty yet, but has come off the bench a lot when a lefty started, and they've used Aranda as a pinch hitter, and he might get a couple of bats even on a day he doesn't start. So the production has definitely been there. I think if he keeps hitting like this, he'll start to play some against left-handers. I'm not saying every one, but it's going to have to happen at some point, because they can't not let it happen if Jonathan Aranda is being this impactful for them.
I would agree if it was literally any other team in baseball.
Even the Rays.
It's the Rays. They don't
play Josh Lowe's breakout season. They played him against lefties sometimes. Brandon Lowe, they play him against
sometimes. Sure. They're not going to sit him 100% of the time, but Josh Lowe famously sat in a playoff game against a lefty.
But look at his platoon partner, right? It's Curtis Mead, who's currently batting .190.
I agree. Again, if it was any other team, I agree, but I don't think that they have as much depth this year as they have in years past. So I can actually see this start to happen where he just plays. I'm not saying he's trying to will it into existence. But
I'm not saying he's never going to sit against a left-hander, Aranda. I'm just saying I think we could start to see him play against some left-handers. And
I think so too.
Yeah, that's and so I've said the same thing about Michael Busch yesterday for the Cubs, and they're right there together in my rankings. Ben Rice, who is also a semi-platoon player for the Yankees, though he's been playing more and more against left-handers. He's right there also. It's really fun to see all these first basemen blossom at the same time. I was It's a little frustrating because I was a year ahead on both Michael Busch and Jonathan Aranda. You could say Michael Busch had a good rookie season.
Well, Busch also had an incredible April last year and then didn't really follow it up.
Right. So like I don't consider Michael Busch's rookie season last year to be a great success for fantasy. Played really deep.
It's time for Robo Scott. He's here.
He's here. I don't.
Yeah,
think
look,
yet. I think you'll have to.
Your audio sounds a little better, but you are frozen with what looks like a very annoyed look on your face. You look better now.
I don't like when I see Robo Scott. I find him to be irritating.
Everybody else loves Robo Scott.
I would like to destroy him and disassemble him and crush him into one of those cubes and maybe drop him in molten steel like at the end of Terminator 2.
That's the wrong approach. Because before he was dropped in the molten steel, Terminator had to learn how to love. And that's what Robo Scott needs.
No, he doesn't. I need to learn how to love. Robo Scott.
You need to learn how to love Robo Scott like everybody else does.
If he does this on the way down, the little thumbs up as he sinks into the molten steel, then we'll know Robo Scott learned. But it's going to happen. He's going to be gone.
Couple of the Rays hitters here that I wanted to highlight. Christopher Morel, 3 for 4 with a double, 2 runs, and 2 RBI. He is batting .311 early on in the season. Underlying numbers, still striking out a lot. He's hitting average exit velocity. He's not very good. Expected stats still look good here. So I'm still holding out a little bit of hope. We all thought there was talent with Morel entering last year. It was a disastrous season, but he's playing every day. He's 54% rostered. I think he could make an impact. And Cameron Meisner has hit well so far. 3 for 4 with a double dong, 3 RBI. One of those home runs came off of a lefty. He has started 12 of the past 15 games for the Rays. He's batting .400 with a 1219 OPS, hitting the ball really hard, 92.9 average exit velocity. Chris, is a deep league play, but in some of those 5 outfielder leagues, do you have any interest in a Cameron Meisner who's hitting well?
I mean, Meisner has a somewhat interesting minor league track record. Like, he usually hits around 20 homers, steals 20 to 30 bases. Like, there are interesting skills here, and I can see him being a useful fantasy player, but it was usually with huge swing and miss numbers, huge strikeout numbers, 30, 35% at AAA. I don't know. Maybe he worked out with Aaron Judge's swing coach. I have no idea, but I'm skeptical that he's going to hit enough to matter outside of deeper roto leagues, but maybe he will. I don't know.
It's a small sample size, but for Cam Meisner, a 16% strikeout rate so far, that's really good. Can it maintain?
Yeah, it was just so bad for his whole minor league career.
Yeah. And he's an older, like Kyron Paris is 23.
Yeah.
Cameron Meisner's 27. So like he was putting up 30% strikeout rates at AAA, like his second time through AAA as a 25 or 26-year-old. So that's why I'm pretty skeptical.
All right, again, those were the Rays who demolished Tanner Houck in this one. They put up 16 runs in that game. Before we hit our first break, just a reminder to sign up for the FBT newsletter if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code. That will take you right to the website, cbssports.com/newsletters, where you can sign up for free. And for those watching, thanks for being here. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we will talk about another disastrous pitching performance right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Let's get Easton Lucas out of the way here. Clobbered by the Braves, 5 innings, 8 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 homers allowed. Tons of hard contact in this one. Really came out of nowhere for the first couple starts. We didn't really know what to make of it exactly. We figured, all right, 2 starts. Let's see what happens.
I mean, it's perfect.
It was
It's
bad.
perfect.
What's up?
It's perfect, right? Like it's just this is such a classic pitcher comes out of nowhere move to get completely ignored for a couple of starts. Nobody benefits from the 2 good starts. Everybody adds him for a 2-start week. I added him in a couple of spots, so I'm not even immune from this. And yeah, he got absolutely blown up. It's that this was always the likeliest outcome with Easton Lucas.
I will say I'm not entirely ready to turn the page, unless the Blue Jays are. If they option him tomorrow, fine. And like, if you want to drop him, I hadn't heard of him 2 weeks ago, so I don't have like any kind of reason to. I don't have a lot I can point to say Easton Lucas is going to eventually be good. But the guy has run really high swinging strike rates and high fly ball rates consistently. And the danger of high fly ball rates is exactly what happened in this start. He gave up 3 home runs. But the upside to high fly ball rates is when you're not giving up home runs, you're not giving up many hits at all. And that's what we saw from Easton Lucas in his first couple starts. If he bounces back, I think Seattle is who he's scheduled to face later this week, presuming he gets to make that start. Then, I might hold on to him beyond this week if that happens. A big if, but I think it's worth. You got him locked into your lineup anyway, so you might as well see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. Again, he's locked in there, but if there's any starting pitcher that's semi-interesting that emerges this week, I would have no problem dropping Easton Lucas if he's the worst player on my roster or the most unknown player on my roster, I guess you could put it. So yeah, that is Easton Lucas. Let's move on to the news and notes. Blake Snell resumed his throwing program on Monday. He is on the IL with left shoulder inflammation. Marcell Ozuna will be out until at least Friday due to hip inflammation. He was sent back to Atlanta for an MRI, which showed that inflammation, but apparently nothing more than that. So we hope there's nothing more than that. Cody Bellinger was out of the lineup Monday as he continues to receive treatment for his sore back. And I know they're in the midst of playing a lot of consecutive games right now. I think it's 13 games in a row, something. So I think they're just trying to pick spots where they can rest Cody Bellinger in between this time. It's definitely been frustrating because he had the great spring and we're all excited. And then, he like tweaks his back early on in April. And
it helps that Trent Grisham's probably their best outfield defender, and he's crushing the ball right now. Hit another home run today. I don't think that's real, but it probably gives them a little more flexibility to sit Bellinger.
Yeah, it's a good point. Brenton Doyle has missed 4 straight with left quad soreness, and it also came out that he experienced renewed soreness while running sprints before the game. So this kind of feels like it's going to end up in an IL stint. I think that we will learn more about that.
It's got to, yeah. And we were talking about this before the broadcast. We were watching the game, and Mickey Moniak was like running people over in the outfield, just was not letting any Brenton Doyle needs to get healthy. That's a tough spot for the Rockies to be in, that they rely on him so much, but man, that team's bad.
Yeah, they're bad, and he's clearly their best player, so they do need him back. Seiya Suzuki has missed 2 straight with a right wrist issue. Teoscar Hernandez was out of the lineup with a stomach bug.
I did see Suzuki could be out until Friday.
Not great. Max Scherzer will visit with a doctor again in the coming days due to nagging soreness in his injured right thumb. I just don't really see a way that this works for Max Scherzer. It's just, if that thumb injury pops up whenever he pitches more than like 50 or 60 pitches, whatever he said, I just don't see a way how this can work for him unless he just becomes a reliever. I don't know.
How far does this date back? I mean, I know it first came up in spring training of this year, but hasn't he dealt with the thumb in the past?
I think he said that,
years.
Like
it was an issue last year. Yeah,
everything that's happened, it's kind of like the kinetic chain where other arm injuries happen because of this thumb issue. So,
yeah, it'd be a shame if his career ends because he can't get past a thumb issue. But
on the other hand, 43 or 40, 41,
yeah,
whatever
I know,
he is,
But it's got to end at some point. But he's still effective when his thumb isn't bothering him. You'd like him to end on his own terms rather than, and the thumb of all things, like a back. Okay. You see that happen all the time. But
thumbs down to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Sean Manaea started playing catch from 60 feet on Monday. He's still working his way back from a right oblique strain. Both Austin Hayes and Alexis Diaz could be activated by the Reds on Tuesday. Brian Bayo will make a rehab start at AAA Wednesday, which is expected to be his last before rejoining the Red Sox. Bayo is 41% rostered. Any interest in adding Brian Bayo?
I don't really think he's good. I mean, I think he's good enough to hold down a rotation spot, especially for the Red Sox. But I don't know that he does a lot of good things for fantasy. And I felt that way about him for a couple years now. After once being very high on him, but not anymore.
Tobias Myers will make his third and likely final rehab start Friday at AAA. He's 33% rostered. Any interest in Tobias Myers?
I have more interest in Tobias Funke.
I have more interest in Brian Bayo.
All right. Ha-Seong Kim of the Rays will get a checkup next week from the doctor who performed his shoulder surgery back in October. Still sounds like he is aiming to return in late May. Ha-Seong Kim is 16% rostered. You know, in roto category leagues where you have unlimited or a bunch of IL spots, I think you can stash Ha-Seong Kim. Giancarlo Stanton continues to hit against high velocity machines and is, quote, getting close to facing live pitching. One thing I've thought about, and look, things will figure themselves out, especially on the Yankees. They usually do. But what happens to Ben Rice if Giancarlo Stanton returns healthy at some point? If nobody else gets hurt and Stanton is ready to return, what happens to Ben Rice?
I got to be honest. I didn't know Stanton was this close to returning. Things seemed pretty dire just a few weeks ago.
I mean, yeah. I would still guess he's like a month away.
Yeah.
And a lot can happen in a month.
Sure.
Guys, like, their starting first baseman is 37 years old. They've got other guys who can get hurt. Giancarlo Stanton could suffer a setback. Ben Rice has found money at this point. I don't think, like, you're not going to drop him because Giancarlo Stanton might be back in a month.
Oh, no.
I don't think you're going to trade him. So I just hold on to him, and
yeah.
If that happens, we cross that bridge when we get there. But
that was like my mom's favorite expression.
They will.
I must have worried about a lot when I was a kid because she was always telling me we'd cross bridges when we come to them.
That sounds right. Yeah. You seem like a worried child.
I was a neurotic kid. I was sure I was going to get rabies. That was like my biggest fear as a kid.
That was not, like, of all the things that you could have said, I was worried that this could have happened. Rabies was not one of the ones that
I was sure I was going to get rabies.
I had lots of neuroses too, but it was like I wouldn't go past my bedroom window at night because I was worried about alien abduction. Like, that's rabies?
At least mine was a real thing.
Hey. They're real to me.
Alex Verdugo is expected to join the Braves this week, and he is 3% rostered.
They need him.
NL only leagues, I guess, but not much interest in Alex Verdugo. Joe Boyle was optioned back to AAA after his strong start on Sunday. Chris Bryant was placed in the IL with lumbar degenerative disc disease, which, kind of like Scherzer. I mean, it's pretty sad to see Chris Bryant's career go down like this, and I just don't really see a way how he really gets things back on track here, unfortunately.
Nope.
Cardinals pitching prospect Quinn Matthews was placed in the IL at AAA with left shoulder soreness. He had 6 walks in back-to-back starts, and then his velocity was down 2 miles per hour in his last outing on Friday, which all sounds pretty scary for a young pitcher, but hopefully we see him still at some point later this season.
I mean, I guess.
No reason to stash him in redraft leagues, though, obviously. Quinn Matthews is out of that discussion.
I guess the shoulder explains the walks. So,
presumably,
in that case, I guess it's good news. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's bad.
Yeah, sure is. All right, let's do a little too high, too low, or just right with specific players' roster rates. So, taking a look at Sean Murphy, who hit another home run, 1 for 3 with his 4th home run. He was moved up to cleanup on Monday against a left-handed pitcher. He is batting .273, a .385 on base percentage. He's got the 4 home runs. He's done all that in just 6 games. 60% rostered is Sean Murphy. Is that too high, too low, or just right?
That's about 40% too low.
Yeah, I just moved him into my top 10 into my top 10 at catcher, Sean Murphy. I am the glasses man, the specs. He can see again, and it's a sight to behold because he crushes the ball when he can see the ball. See the ball hit the ball. Sean Murphy. I'm putting him ahead of Logan O'Hoppe. I'm putting him ahead of Austin Wells.
Yeah. I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't know if I'll do that specifically, but top 12 for sure. Yeah.
I dropped Austin Wells for Sean Murphy in my home league, which is a 12-team head-to-head points league with one catcher. So, I needed the roster spot for something else. I'm not going to hold on to two catchers in a one-catcher league. And so Sean Murphy is more hot right now than Austin Wells, though he did homer on Monday as well. But obviously Sean Murphy is the better option right now. Cabert Ruiz is only 9% rostered. So I think you could drop Cabert Ruiz for Sean Murphy.
He's off to a really good start.
He is.
So I understand not wanting to. He's hitting like 350, only like a 5% strikeout rate. I'd rather have Sean Murphy than Cabert Ruiz.
I rank Murphy ahead.
Maybe in a points league, I could see it just because Ruiz probably going to play more. Strikeout rate's going to be really low, but I just don't think there's very much upside there.
If you want to take a galaxy brain view here, I don't know that I'm using that term right, but so I've talked about how, part of the hesitance with Sean Murphy is the threat of Drake Baldwin, and presumably the Braves didn't keep him around to sit on the bench. But Sean Murphy's been so good, that's what he's had to do. But now Marcell Ozuna sounds like he's going to be out at least until the weekend, and I think the testing just showed inflammation, right? Did we already do that in news and notes?
Yep.
For Marcell Ozuna, so it doesn't sound like it's gonna be a long-term absence, but that is a chance to get Murphy and Baldwin both in the lineup for a few days, and it didn't happen on Monday with a left-hander on the mound, but I think it will happen. And if we see Baldwin heat up, I don't know, that could complicate things anew. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
That's right. Let's stick with the Braves and talk about Grant Holmes, who had a great start at the Blue Jays. 7 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks with 4 strikeouts here. He is down to a 2.76 ERA, 1.16 WHIP. Walks have been a problem. They weren't in this start, but they were in previous outings. 76% rostered is Grant Holmes. Too high, too low, or just right?
I wouldn't let him go unrostered in any of my leagues. So the shallowest league I play in has 250 players rostered. Maybe there are enough with fewer than that being rostered that it's closer to right than I'm giving it credit for. But I'm seeing some of the pitchers rostered in more leagues than Grant Holmes include Tanner Houck, Merrill Kelly, Casey Mize, Tyler McGill. Really? I'd rather have Holmes than all of those guys.
I think Holmes is extremely similar to all of those guys. I think he's fine. Like if he was 100% rostered, I don't think I would mind it. I don't think he's going to be a difference maker is really what it comes down to. I think he's good, but I don't think I'm not sure he's must start against any matchup. And yeah, I think he's pretty useful, but I don't think even in this one, 4 strikeouts in 7 2/3 innings, slider it was decent tonight, 3 whiffs on 8 swings, but overall hasn't been great this season in terms of whiffs. And he had 5 batted balls with an XBA over 500 today. Expected batting average.
Over 100, you mean?
Oh, over
expected batting average. Okay.
Expected batting. Yep. All 5 of them were outs. Yeah. So there's some good luck going on here. I think he's fine. I don't think this is finally Grant Holmes has unlocked his, high end upside. I don't think the high end upside is there. I think it's more of a high floor.
We have seen him better than this before. I will give the actual number if you can hear me. Presuming you're making faces like you can.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Grant Holmes had a 16.4% swinging strike rate last year, which is elite. Like only 2 pitchers with 100 innings had better than a 16% rate. He didn't have 100 innings, so I'm not including Grant Holmes in that. But it was just Garrett Crochet and Blake Snell. And then Grant Holmes had a swinging strike rate similarly. Now, we haven't seen him missing bats to quite that degree this year. The second start, he did miss a lot of bats. The slider had more movement on it in that start. So maybe he's still, I don't know. I don't know why the slider movement has changed so much from start to start for Grant Holmes. I know he was specifically trying to be efficient in this start, and he was ridiculously efficient in this start. Like he was throwing strikes because the first couple starts he struggled with walks, and that was the knock on him. So like he adjusts. I don't know. I thought he was really impressive last year. I thought he's been good enough to keep seeing it through this year. Will at some point he have to be better than he's been so far? Yes. But I am not discouraged by what I've seen from Grant Holmes so far this year. It's not as good as I hoped for, but it's good enough that I want to see it through, and particularly after this start.
I misspoke earlier. I said his slider hasn't been that good for whiffs. It's the curveball that hasn't been that good this year. The slider's been very good.
Yeah, the second
which
start
is interesting because
especially
that's
had
the
9.
new pitch. He didn't throw that pitch before last season, so his feel for that one does seem to be better.
Yeah, again, that's Grant Holmes. I think he should throw the slider more. He actually, threw it a little bit less in this one, and the usage in general has been down this season for the slider, but it's still been really good. It's a 44% whiff rate. So I do think if Grant Holmes throws more sliders, then could lead to more whiffs, more strikeouts in the future. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll get back into some more names here right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
Fitzgerald failed. Ronaldo! Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Too high, too low, or just right. Mike Yastrzemski, 2 for 5 with his third home run. He added 3 RBI. He's batting .311. He's got 2 steals on top of that, and OPS over 1,000 so far. He's leading off against right-handed pitching. 56% rostered. Too high, too low, or just right?
I think that's probably too high. I understand why Yastrzemski's up that high, because he has been hitting well. But the guy's 34 years old, believe it or not. I think we know who he is at this point. He's been hitting the ball harder on average. Okay. He's been hitting more line drives. When you're doing that, you're going to get better results. It's just, do we have any reason to believe that's anything sustainable for him? I would guess not, given Mike Yastrzemski's career track record.
Yeah, I think he's just hot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it.
He did. There was a piece the other day talking about how he changed his swing. He kind of got caught up chasing launch angle and pulling the ball the last couple of years.
I was going to say, I noticed that. I noticed in past years, fly ball rate very high, pull rate very high. That's normally like what we want to see, but maybe not from a left-handed hitter with that great big brick wall.
The irony, of course, his pull rate is up this year, and his air rate is up. Line drives plus fly balls. He's hitting fewer fly balls because he's hitting more line drives. I don't think that's like that's a pretty, middle of the road. Like, not even sure what word I'm looking for. That's not a super significant change. Like line drive rate is super noisy. So, and his rate of pulled balls in the air is by far the highest it's ever been. So maybe it's one of those things where you stop trying to do the thing and you do the thing more often. I don't really buy that, but maybe there's something. But I think it's just he's having a hot streak and he'll cool down and be the same barely fringy fantasy relevant player he's been.
Yeah, I think Mike Yastrzemski is probably too highly rostered at 56% on CBS, but 14% on Yahoo, where it's daily lineup leagues. I think that's probably the best format to utilize someone like Yastrzemski. I realize those are also shallower formats too, but yeah, I think he probably should be more than like 14% over on Yahoo. Jameson Taillon had himself a solid start at the Padres, 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts here. And he had a bad first start, but he has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in 3 straight. And he is 74% rostered. What do you guys think? Too high, too low, or just right on Jameson Taillon?
It's a 2-start week, so it's fine. It'll be too high next week.
Well, you notice some of the pitchers I read off that were rostered in more leagues than Holmes. It was a lot of this type. It was a lot of boring innings eater types. And so I think maybe given the high volume of head-to-head points leagues on our site, that inflates the roster percentage of those kinds of pitchers. But I play in a lot of those leagues myself, and I'm telling you, Jameson Taillon doesn't need to be a fixture. I will just note, his swinging strike rate is way up this year, and the whiff rate on the individual pitches is way up. And the spin rate on everything but the fastball is noticeably down, even though he's throwing them just as hard. I don't really know how to square all of that, but it suggests to me that there is maybe some underlying change going on with Taillon that I haven't seen reported anywhere. So it's just something to keep an eye on. But in the long run, I think he's going to be a boring innings eater type and probably not worth rostering in leagues of normal size.
He is throwing his four-seam fastball more this season, and Jameson Taillon threw his sweeper a lot more in this start. It was great. 7 whiffs, 44% whiff rate on that sweeper. I think it's probably just right. I think Jameson Taillon's pretty boring, but he pitches on a really good team. The fact that the whiffs are up a little bit, I think wins could be there. So, yeah, he's part of that boring group, but I think he's more like on the higher end of that boring group. Like, I'm a little bit more excited about him than I guess, your Merrill Kellys of the world and other names like that.
Tyler, I don't think the word excited has been used regarding Jameson Taillon in about 7 years.
Come on, Chris. We'll get you on board. Tyler Fitzgerald picking things up 3 for 4 with his first home run, 3 RBI. His last 6 games, he's got 8 hits, 1 homer, and 2 steals. He is 63% rostered on CBS. Too high, too low, or just right?
Still seems a bit high to me, because I don't really believe in Tyler Fitzgerald, even though he got every hit but the single, the hardest. He got every hit but the easiest hit in the cycle in this game. But it was his first home run of the season. He doesn't hit the ball very hard. He hasn't been hitting the ball very hard. The one thing I can say for Tyler Fitzgerald is 21% strikeout rate, much improved from the 32% rate last year. And, in the minors, the strikeout rates ran really high too. That was part of the reason why, okay, if you're going to make wimpy contact, you got to make more contact. Well, he has so far, but he's also like, the chase rate is higher. The zone contact rate isn't any better. Like I feel like the strikeout rate itself for Tyler Fitzgerald is a fake out. And if that's the only thing that you can point to say this is why he's better this year, even though he hasn't been producing, well, I'm saying that's not going to hold up. So you could probably just move on from Tyler Fitzgerald despite this big game.
All right, let's talk about Michael Busch, who stayed hot 1 for 4 with his 4th home run here on Monday. And he's batting .310. He's got 12 runs, 12 RBI, and OPS over 1,000. 65% rostered is Michael Busch. Too high, too low, or just right?
I mean, like low. Soderstrom and Rice and those guys are all ahead of him. And I'm not sure he's dramatically different than any of them. So, sure, too low. I think there are obvious limitations for Michael Busch, and it's worth remembering, as I said earlier, he had 6 homers in April last year, had an .874 OPS. It was by far his best month of the season. I think it's fine if you want to add him and he's available. There have been a lot of really disappointing first basemen so far. I'm working on a piece, like looking at the biggest disappointments so far and just looking for like a sign of life from them. And Alec Boehm, Spencer Steer, Michael Toglia, Jake Berger, Tristan Casas, Cody Bellinger, even like Mark Vientos. We can call him a first baseman. He probably should be playing first base. It's Wilson Contreras is playing first base. It's been a bad season for first baseman, despite, imagine how much worse it would be if not for Soderstrom and Ben Rice and Spencer Torkelson. First basemen this year have a 95 weighted runs created plus. That is 5% worse than league average across all hitters. That is bonkers.
So specifically Tolia, because I know we're giving Berger more time in roto leagues. And a lot of those, like Tristan Casas obviously is getting more time. But Tolia, who, I ranked him 13th or something like that, 14th at the position coming in, just because he was the most promising last year in a small sample. And it's not like there were, it's not like there were clear, there was upside beyond that in the rankings, but it was just kind of a big, massive upside. So the guy who was best last year ranked highest. It was as simple as that. But there were a lot of downside concerns for Tolia. And I know you were higher on Tolia than I am. I have moved Busch. I have moved Aranda, certainly Rice, Torkelson ahead of Tolia. Are you there yet, or do you still have Tolia ahead?
I haven't done it yet, but it's entirely possible when I make my updates this week that I will. So, yeah, it's been a really tough start for sure. Yeah, that's one where I'm not sure there's anything we can point to be optimistic about. He's hitting the ball hard, I guess, but
yeah,
just doesn't matter because he's hitting everything in the ground.
Yeah,
if he's hitting it at all, because I think he's running like a 45% strikeout rate.
Yeah. Again, that is Michael Tolia that we were just talking about there. Want to highlight two other lineups here that had big nights. The Pirates looking to wake things up. They put up 10 runs on 14 hits. O'Neal Cruz 2 for 5 with a double and 2 runs scored. His first time leading off this season. And I noticed the quality of contact is down quite a bit this year. He's also making a lot more contact. So that might be correlated, might be doing that on purpose. Brian Reynolds, 2 for 4 with 2 RBI and striking out a lot early on, but he also was dealing with a back injury. I think it was a back injury for Brian Reynolds. You guys remember? Back, knee?
Bicep, wasn't it?
Bicep. I don't know.
It's like an arm injury.
Yeah. I mean, he has such an established track record that I feel like maybe that strikeout rate is running high because of said injury. And Ke'Bryan Hayes had a big game, 2 for 4 with 3 RBI and his 3rd stolen base. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting more line drives and fly balls so far this season. It has not turned into much batting average or power yet, but maybe it could. Ke'Bryan Hayes, 32% rostered. Any interest in him? Anything else you'd like to point out with Brian Reynolds or O'Neal Cruz?
Gotta see something from Ke'Bryan Hayes before I like more than just him hitting the ball hard, because we've seen that from him before and it hasn't led to production. So Reynolds, it's a shoulder injury. It was originally reported as a triceps injury. That's one more than a biceps injury. But it's actually a teres major strain that has kept him off the out of the outfield. As far as O'Neal Cruz, I don't see anything in like the bat tracking data that would suggest that there's a conscious change. He's still swinging about as hard as anyone. It's a little bit less hard than last year, but less than a mile or just 1 mile per hour. Swing length is not much shorter. So I don't really think that's likely the explanation. I think it's probably just a small sample size thing.
I'll note with Brian Reynolds that the exit velocities are on point and the walk rate is normal. It's really just that he's striking out more than usual. Yeah. And it's not like the zone contact rate is lower. The chase rate isn't high. Like all the underlying plate discipline stuff is normal. I think he's probably fine. I mean, you don't like a guy playing with a shoulder injury, but apart from him, he's putting the ball on the ground a little more. But apart from putting the ball on the ground a little more and striking out unusually high rate, everything looks pretty normal.
Yeah. All right. It is definitely a stretch to say that the Yankees had a big game. They hit 4 home runs. I was just trying to figure out a way to work them in here. But those home runs were hit by Ben Rice, who hit his 5th home run. We talk about Ben Rice a lot so far this season. Austin Wells hit his 3rd homer. Feels like maybe he's trying too hard to lift the ball. He's got a 61% fly ball rate early on this season. Jazz Chisholm hit his 6th home run as well. He has a 35% strikeout rate. and a 59% fly ball rate. So both of those things will not do your batting average much justice. And Trent Grisham hit his 4th home run, limited playing time, but he's performing well. I don't think we have too much interest here. But have you guys noticed anything, worried at all about Austin Wells or Jazz? The home runs and steals are there for Jazz, but 175 batting average is pretty bad.
I think that'll normalize for Jazz. I'm not too worried about it. I would expect the strikeout rate to come down, the fly ball rate to come down, and he'll probably be who you expected him to be.
All right. Austin Wells, by the way, again, he's hitting the ball hard, but it's too many fly balls. So I do think he just needs to lower that launch angle a little bit there. Let's do a little bit of a temperature check here on these starting pitchers who all had some pretty good games here on Monday. Dustin May against the Rockies, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. He had 14 whiffs on 76 pitches here and has allowed 1 earned run or fewer in all 3 of his starts. And he is just off to a great start. Where are you guys at on Dustin May? Can you see him being a big riser for you in the rankings this week?
What if Sandy Alcantara was never allowed to throw more than 85 pitches? That's basically where I'm at on Dustin May.
Not just that, like I don't think he's gotten to 75 innings in a season since
that sounds right. Yeah.
A long time ago, and when he was still a minor leaguer. Yeah, his 56 is the most he's ever thrown in the majors. So like he'll be allowed to throw that much if he holds up, but when you have like part of the downside to having a bunch of like aesthetically awesome looking pitches that are coming in at 97, 98 miles per hour with all sorts of crazy wiffle ball type movement, makes pitcher ninja like it just totally makes his day every time Dustin May pitches because it looks awesome. But the downside to that is the arm doesn't hold up very well, and that's been Dustin May's problem. And although he got a ton of whiffs in this start, that's pretty rare for him too. Like it is kind of hard to imagine as hard as he throws, as wicked as that movement is. It's more weak contact on the ground. So good ERA, probably good win potential with the Dodgers, but it'll be short-lived and probably not give you the strikeout numbers you're looking for. So I think keeping him in the 60 to 70 range at this point in the season where there's still a lot of healthy pitchers, that's probably where May belongs. Maybe 50 to 60, but not especially high.
Let's move over to Clay Holmes, who looked good at the Twins. 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts here, 12 whiffs on 90 pitches. And he leaned on the sinker and changeup, and both were great in this start. He has 18 strikeouts over his last 2 starts. Where are you guys at on Clay Holmes? It's the whip is still, he's trying to get it down, but I would say he's looked better since that first start.
I think every start's been better than the last. So that's a good trend. And yeah. I did sit him in one categories league for this week. Even though he's a 2-start pitcher, tough matchups. Well, okay matchups, I guess. But I was worried about him like doing double the damage to my whip, Mm-hmm. And already I'm feeling pretty bad about that. But trending the right direction for Clay Holmes. His changeup was especially effective in this one. That's the new pitch. Remember, there are a lot of left-handed batters in the Twins lineup, so that probably led to him throwing it more. But it's good to see that it worked. Like it had been in spring training for Clay Holmes. Maybe he should throw it more often, period.
So the problem there is I think it's just a chase pitch. I think it's a good one, but I think his zone rate with that pitch was like 23% in this start. And that it's really hard to throw a pitch that more often than what was it, like 28-30% in this one. It's really hard to throw like that. That's kind of like, you've got to pick your spots if you're going to throw it out of the zone that often, unless you've got like, there are some guys who can just not live in the zone, but still avoid whiffs or walks because they have good command. They just purposely throw out of the zone. I don't think Clay Holmes is that guy. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of think the changeup just kind of has to be the put away pitch against lefties. And I actually think he's got really good put away pitches now. Like if the changeup can be consistent for him, I think the sweeper and slider are both excellent put away pitches. It's just getting to 2 strikes. without getting to four balls before, especially has been the issue this season. But I'm feeling okay about Clay Holmes. It's kind of the opposite of Grant Holmes, where I think Grant Holmes is kind of a higher floor guy, but I don't know if there's much upside. I think Clay Holmes, it's going to be a roller coaster ride, but if he locks in, I think the upside could be really high here.
Two names that I feel like maybe we had some speculation on early on in the season, and lately they've just been pretty good, and maybe they're all right all along. Joe Ryan against the Mets, 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. The sweeper looked much better in this one, the best it's looked all season. And Sonny Gray, great start against the Astros, 7 shutout innings, only 4 strikeouts, only 6 whiffs on 92 pitches here. But the overall numbers look good, and strikeouts were okay before this outing here. So where are you guys at on Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray?
I think they're both fine. I think Joe Ryan especially, to a certain degree, both of them, but Joe Ryan especially, there will be days when you curse the day you drafted him, because he'll just get bombarded with home runs like we saw for Easton Lucas here today. But Joe Ryan obviously is more proven, but the same thing will happen to him, where he just gets blasted with home runs. But when he's not, he's going to give you a really low whip. He's going to give you a decent number of strikeouts. He's going to work deep into the game. That's just the profile.
Good to see the sweeper. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Good to see the sweeper showing up for Joe Ryan, because that had not been, I think his whiff rate with that was like 15% or something coming in super low. It was more in the 30 to 35% range last year. But he got 7 whiffs with it today. That's a very good sign for his chances of getting strikeouts moving forward.
Now we have expressed concerns for both of these pitchers, Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray, their velocity this season. And that hasn't really been getting better. There have been some cold weather starts that's made it unclear what's going on with the velocity. I think especially for Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray did have one start where the velocity was basically back, and he got 22 whiffs in that start. But it wasn't that high in this start. Didn't get many whiffs. I think he's got a full enough arsenal. Like, we've seen so many different versions of Sonny Gray over the years that I think he can manage fine with his velocity being down a mile per hour. And since we did see that one start where it's back to normal, I don't know, maybe it can still come back. With Joe Ryan, last year was the aberration in terms of how hard he threw. And so we've seen Joe Ryan succeed at his current velocity as well. Is there as much strikeout potential? Maybe not, but I think he's good enough and is capable enough to navigate with what he has.
Two other names who had mixed outings here. Seth Lugo against the Yankees, 6 2/3 innings, 4 runs, 4 strikeouts, 4 homers allowed. They were all solo homers. He only has 1 quality start in 4 outings. Strikeouts are down, walks are up. It's only 4 starts. I think he'll be better. I don't know that that's a guarantee, though. And Landon Root was, again, mixed start because 4 runs over 5 innings is not great, but 8 strikeouts and 20 whiffs. That looks pretty good there.
He got
just his pitch mix. I don't know. Like, can he succeed with just like this curveball and a sinker? I don't know.
I love the note about the pronunciation of Roop's name. I won't read it out loud though. 20 whiffs and 15 of them came on the curveball. And by the way, it lowered the whiff rate on his curveball for this year, getting 15 because he threw it so many times. He entered with like a 58% whiff rate on that pitch, and now it went down. So that's like that's a fun pitch. And anytime you have a pitch that's capable of missing that many bats, I'm gonna be interested. Now he's got some other stuff to work on, clearly, throwing strikes especially. But there's something here for Landon Roop, and particularly since he's RP eligible, that's going to incline me to give him an especially long leash in the formats where you're more likely to go as far as Roop in the pitcher pool because it's at dead points.
I will say, you said you expect Seth Lugo to be better moving forward. And I think like only 1 quality start in 4 outings, that's probably going to be better. 3.86 ERA, that's what I expect from him. Maybe a little lower than a 129 whip, although I think there could be a lot of hits there.
I just expect, I guess, the underlying numbers to look better than they are right now because they're pretty bad.
I expect the walk rate to be lower and the strike. Yeah, I guess another strikeout per 9 at least would make sense. But like, I don't think it's so far off from what I expect from Seth Lugo.
I'm thinking 350, 360 for the ERA, which is basically 2023 with the Padres, the numbers he put up that year. That's what I think Seth Lugo is going to be in the long run.
All right, we are kind of up against it here, so I'm just going to bounce around to a few things here before we wrap up. Your latest reminder that things can turn around very quickly. Austin Riley, 2-for-4 with a double dong, 5 RBI. His last 7 games, he is batting .452 with 3 homers, 8 RBI, and a 13.08 OPS. And Tarek Skubal, dominant at the Brewers, 7 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts. His last 2 starts, 13 shutout, 15 strikeouts to 0 walks. So, yes, if you have elite players who are off to a rough start, things can turn around very quickly.
I'll also throw P. Armstrong on this list. I made a little joke yesterday about how his 2-homer game got his production to where we thought it would be. And that was a little joke because his OPS, even after the 2-homer game, was like 680. But he had 3 more hits today, including, I believe, a new hardest hit ball of his major league career at 108 miles per hour.
Which isn't a particularly hardest hit ball, but yeah,
relatively speaking
for him. Yeah.
So just pointing that out there, since I've been critical of P. Armstrong, he's all of a sudden the numbers look okay.
We had a pretty big dud performance from Framber Valdez, 4 innings, 10 hits, 7 runs allowed at the Cardinals, 12 hard hits in this game. Anything that worries you about this, or is this part of the Valdez experience?
I'm not worried at all.
Nope. We saw him throw fewer curveballs than we'd like to see him throw, but it's just one start, so I'm not going to make much of it.
Some hitters, studs being studs here. Fernando Tatis, the guy is on fire. Just please stay healthy. 2-for-4 with a double dong. He has 5 home runs in his last 6 games. Luis Ariz, 3-for-5 with his 2nd homer. Shohei Ohtani, 3-for-4 with his 5th homer. And Mookie Betts, who seems fine, 2-for-3 with his 4th home run of the season so far.
I mean, the results have been fine for Mookie Betts. The exit velocities are a lot lower, average and max. His what's the number called? The bat velocity. That's not what it's called. What is it called?
Bat speed.
Bat speed.
It's down a couple miles per hour. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So like he just by the data, he looks weaker.
But that was a trend that already started last year.
Fair enough, but it's even worse now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And notably worse. This home run was not a wimpy home run. It was, I mean, it wasn't, it was the sort of home run that it was a more normal looking home run for Mookie Betts, I guess I'm saying. The first 2 were like wall scrapers, hit 95 miles per hour. And you were like, whoa, he's lucky he got that one out. But this one was a little closer to legit. So hopefully Mookie Betts is trending the right direction. I'm not actually saying I'm worried. I'm just saying that not all is fine under the hood. So just keep an eye on that.
Some bullpens here for the Yankees. Devin Williams got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He gave up a hit and a walk, but picked up his 2nd save. It has been a rough start for him so far. 7.20 ERA, 2.60 WHIP. We've seen other elite closers too, like Emmanuel Clase has been a mess so far. I heard this on, I think, the RotoWire podcast yesterday. Emmanuel Clase has allowed more earned runs this season than he did all of last season.
Yep.
And we're like,
and he was bad. And he was bad in the postseason last year. So that's like 13 bad innings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned about Devin Williams. I'm not concerned about Emmanuel Clase, even a tiny, small amount.
I agree. It's just frustrating when you pay the price tag for those guys.
Sure.
You know, it's a slow start here. For the Dodgers, Tanner Scott got the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He gave up 2 hits, but picked up his 5th save of the season. To stream or not to stream on Tuesday, and the names I gave out yesterday, I think the same here. Jake Irvin at the Pirates, Tyler McGill at the Twins, Landon Knack at home against the Rockies.
Woof.
I don't hate Quinn Priester versus Detroit. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think Tyler McGill is probably my favorite, though.
The Tigers, I looked this up earlier. Surprisingly, yeah, they've been good against right-handed pitching this year. 4th in WOBA against
Tigers?
righties. So the Tigers have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's enough of a sample for me to care, though. Those are the days when Kerry Carpenter's in the lineup, notably.
Kerry Carpenter started against a lefty on Monday.
Oh, that's just Monday, you said?
Yeah,
he had a good game
against Tyler Alexander. Yeah, but the home run came off.
Well,
right-handed reliever. Yeah.
Okay.
That was one that I was like, I was gonna check because I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. Cards on the table. I do not know what arm Tyler Alexander uses when he throws or does anything else, frankly.
Now you're making me make sure that he's a lefty.
No, he is a lefty. I checked. You're right. But yeah, the homer was not off a lefty.
I agree. Tyler McGill at Minnesota is the only one I would even give half a thought to on Tuesday.
On Wednesday, I think some more interesting options here. Griffin Canning at the Twins, David Festa against the Mets, Reese Olson at the Brewers, Jose Quintana against the Tigers, Matthew Boyd at the Padres, Mitchell Parker at the Pirates, Nick Martinez against the Mariners, Osvaldo Bido at the White Sox, Jose Soriano at the Rangers. So lots of options.
I do love that Jose Quintana just like rolled out of bed. No minor league starts, no nothing.
7 shutout innings.
7 shutout innings in his first start with 2 strikeouts. Just perfect. I love that. I don't think like he could have another good start. I don't know. He does that occasionally, but I don't expect much. There are some more interesting options here, but I don't know if there's anyone like I want to pound the table as a start. Reese Olson, maybe.
Great matchups, really.
Yeah, Reese Olson's probably the most interesting. I like Festa, but I don't love the matchup. Martinez against Seattle, that feels like a trap because Seattle away from T-Mobile is actually not a terrible offense. So,
and that start is in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
My favorite two here are Jose Soriano at the Rangers, just because I think he's good enough to throw out there against any lineup.
The Rangers lineup has been terrible too.
I think it's a good lineup, but they've been bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Osvaldo Bido at the White Sox was one of my streamer pitchers for this week. And so I'll recommend him as a one-day streamer too.
Yeah. I like both of those quite a bit as well. We'll quickly pull up to see what the Padres are doing so far against lefties, and they are pretty good. So
yeah,
I like what Matthew Boyd has done so far. I don't love that matchup. If I have to choose another name, I think I would go with Quintana. Like, I don't know. I don't trust the Tigers offense. So yeah, I think I would go Soriano, Bido, and Quintana on Wednesday.
That's reasonable.
Cool. All right. Well, 2 weeks in a row. Maybe one of these weeks we'll get back to Team Name Tuesday, but yeah, we're already running long here and don't want to go much longer. So we are going to wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.